Project Floof is the title for a Pokemon Mystery Dungeon comic I was trying to put together with a group of friends in the summer of 2020. No, 2 years ago. The idea of the project was born one late night in May, around 3 months deep into the COVID pandemic. It was 11 p.m. in California. I found myself going down a rabbit hole of trying to think of ideas that would get the channel more views. And at the time I was posting Let's Play of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Sky. Then my mind started to think, wouldn't it be cool to create my own story in this game I love? At the time, the Sky Temple community didn't exist, and the ROM hacks like they are now for PMD didn't exist either. So I found my interest waning in this subject. Then during the thought process, I remember an old PMD comic I used to read several years ago. I couldn't find the comic again, and my memory on it grows fuzzy, as I read it back in middle school, but I believe it had an Eevee as the main character and a grumpy Luxio. The idea of writing my own story that could become a full-blown comic made me excited, and my mind started thinking of other videos I've seen online. Videos where people would dub cute and simple comics and farm many views. Most of the time they aren't even the original creator, but they create such a fun and interesting voice lines that complements the work. People love it. One of these videos I've been watching is a dub of a popular Instagram comic series that I still keep up with, known as Pixie and Brutus. The simplistic style of it and the charming characters, along with the desire to try and find my place in the YouTube platform, led me to tweet out my desire to create a PMD comic with a group of artists. It was more a random thought at the time, yet my friends who I got to know through a YouTuber that shall not be named community, and have been very supportive in me chasing my YouTube dream, all offered their help. They are artists of extreme talent, and soon we came together to form Project Floof. Through the later half of May and into June, we all began to work on the project here and there. Myself taking the place as project director, a dear friend of mine known as Bread taking the title Lore Master, and a lot of great friends of mine in the community joining in as well. Smile, Rex, Mia, Eliza, Q, also known as Watson, they all joined the team to create the art required for the series. During this time I would talk for hours with Brad, forming brand new characters and creating an underlying lore that users could use to try and piece together how everything is happening as the story progressed. We settled on using the language of flowers to name our important characters, and the reason for this is the language of flowers is used quite commonly throughout Pokemon, and always have a underlying meaning. I could really delve into this, but for the sake of staying on track, I recommend looking up language of flowers in Pokemon. It is really interesting, and specifically the game, where it's not too much of it in the anime. With this in mind, I wrote the main cast that will be our comics heroes. We have a Chikorita named Violet. Violet in the plant symbolism means multiple things: faithfulness, daydreaming, modesty. Violet is a shy, soft-spoken, smart, and a very gentle kind of person. Her major flaw being that she is easily intimidated. In a choice between fight or flight, she would choose flight. Violet loves history, mythology, and loves to garden. Nerd. She is the sensible one in the group, often taking a logical approach to problems. She has a small, Harry Potter-like glasses with a straw hat. Then there is my personal favorite of the trio that we wrote, a Litleo named Borage. In plant symbolism, Borage means courage. Though, funnily enough, the plant borage itself is seen as a weed or a pest. I didn't know that at the time, but it oddly fits with this character. Borage is a brash, energetic, courageous, strong, loyal, and just has a lot of spunk that made him rather endearing. He is friendly and is quick to try and encourage his friends. This Litleo also wears a medieval helmet that has a red triangle and holes for his ears. His family are blacksmiths, and he has aspirations to become the best blacksmith in all the land. Though his biggest flaw is he is sometimes a bit naive and, how to put it nicely, dumb. He finds himself often becoming the yes man to the leader of our group, and Violet constantly having to course correct him. Speaking of leader, time for our true protagonist of the story. His full name is Calendula, but he goes by Callan. He is a Poochyena with big dreams, living life in a small, secluded town simply known as Meadowsweet. He found life boring. His family are bakers and often don't leave the town. Every day was the same. Get up early in the morning, bake bread all day, talk to Pokemon, sell it to them. He wanted something more in life. Plus, he is getting older. Is this really all his life will amount to, just being a baker? This Poochyena is ambitious, a bit reckless at times, and extremely stubborn. He could be a bit naive as well, often rushing into things without thinking much through. However, Callan is a caring person. He's pretty intelligent when it comes to problem solving, able to improvise when the time requires it, and he tries his best to be considerate when he approaches situations. He dreams of being an adventurer, exploring the world, as he has heard so many stories from various travelers that pass through their town. Once in a long while, hearing the heroic journeys of these different adventurers, this Poochyena decides to form a group to start exploring the forest around them. I could probably talk about the story I had thought of, the backstory of these characters and so forth for hours. So for the sake of time, I'm gonna gloss through it a bit more. I would create a map using Incarnate, not a sponsor, just a fan, and name the continent Kriana. Kriana is a play on words of Cride Anam, which is Scots Gaelic for soul and heart. I know I probably butchered the pronunciation, I did my best. The lore of the world is heavily inspired by the studies of alchemy and astrology from the ancient world, as well as the Hawaiian religion with their folklores and spiritual meanings of their various flowers. The combination of both Western Europe and Polynesian mythology to form our own special world. The plotline itself was simple. An evil Mightyena named Rose. Rose has many meanings in plant symbolism, but mostly focused on the meaning of the black rose, which is death, hatred, despair, sorrow, mystery, danger, and most importantly, obsession. Rose is obsessed with a perfect world, beginning nothing more than a desire to help the people of her village, but it transformed into much more than that. She would find partners in crime, Netto, the survivor, Netto meaning life and death, and Marigold, the Umbreon. Marigold means pain and grief. Netto has grown in the wild as a feral Pokemon, truly believing in the concept of predator and prey. If you weren't a predator, you're nothing more than prey. It would be found by Rose, taught about the world, and has grown to trust Rose, believing she will create a perfect world in which ferals are no longer looked down on. Marigold is a Pokemon whose life has been riddled with tragedy. She was just a simple little Eevee when fire claimed her village. The next week of her life she would never forget. Starving, cold, out in the forest, predators claiming her parents. This young Eevee was a lost soul until Rose found her. Rose would give her purpose in her life, but her purpose turns out to be rather devious and dark. These three would go on to chase after what is known as the Azoth, a powerful energy source, one that is said to be of divine energy. Though when Rose approached this, a team of explorers lay down their lives, and a Rockruff would throw herself into the Azoth, breaking into several small artifacts that fires off into the ends of the world before collapsing. And that is pretty much the plot. The villain are after the artifacts to once more create the Azoth for their perfect world, and then there's our group of heroes, Callan, Morage, and Violet. They would form their own makeshift adventuring team, and their paths will intercept once the artifacts is found within the Kuan Forest, which is the forest that surrounds Meadowsweet. From there will be an adventure of them at first running to keep the artifact from our three antagonists, going through various mystery dungeons, meeting many Pokemon who will help them along the way, and yeah. Now for what the project fell apart, there's quite a few reasons. First thing is several of my friends were running into art block or burnout by July. Progress was slow as passion for the project began to dry up when our friend Brad had to leave due to personal reasons. This really shot morale in the team, and then school was back in session. From there, dedication to the project began to just dry up until I finally considered the project dismissed, thrown into the back of the shelf in another failed Kingdom 25 project. There was also another problem where I felt I wasn't really a good project director. I had a hard time trying to figure out how to progress the story, and at the time didn't have a good system in planning out chapters far in advance. Not to mention, I feel I should have been more hands-on. Being too loose probably led to low productivity and getting things done. I was also too ambitious, wanting detailed backgrounds, well-designed characters. I wanted everything to be perfect, instead of sticking to the simplistic designs I first imagined for the characters, which I feel in the end just wasn't fair to my friends who were offering their help to support me in my endeavors for free. Like, completely out of their own will. They didn't have to get onto this project at all. If I will ever try to revive this project or begin a similar project, to that I say, who knows? I know with Sky Temple now existing, part of me wants to go through the endeavor of creating my own ROM hack. And right now I have begun a PMD campaign in which you'll soon see storytime videos from. I love writing stories, I love creating and crafting my own worlds, and having my own PMD comic with my own story is still something I do wish to create one day. Perhaps if the star aligns, one day we could see the launch of an original PMD fan story. Thanks for watching, and good luck adventuring out there. Bye!